Let's go.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, just me, Rich, tonight. But I've got all you guys keeping me company as well for the fans forum. Apologies for not joining last night. I know Tuesday night is usually fans forum night, but a little bit under the weather, so postponed it to Wednesday. And I want to talk on a few things. Got a few subjects to talk about, and obviously get your comments and questions in as well. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We're on the march to 10,000 subscribers. Had loads of you join us over the last couple of weeks, which is fantastic. So please keep supporting the channel, like, subscribe, and get your comments flowing through. The main topics I want to talk about are Villa back to their best. You know, we had a great win on Sunday, a bit more reflection after that victory. Are we putting it a bit more into context? You know, are we truly in good form now? Are some of the players really back to their best? So I want to get comments and questions in on that. The contract situation. So we've got multiple players looking at signing new deals. Matty Cash, Morgan Rogers, John McGinn, and I think one or two others might be looking to follow suit as well. So looking at the benefits of that, but maybe one or two sort of potential disadvantages with it in terms of contract length and the age of the players and how that might impact the squad. And then obviously we're going to do a bit of a preview for Thursday night's game against Go Ahead Eagles. So loads to cover on the show. And as I say, get your questions and comments in as well. Stephen, good evening to you. Rachel, good evening. TK, good evening, mate. Great to have you in the chat, and Patty as well. Shaz, come on, you Spurs. Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the score is at the minute. I know it was 0-0 at half time, but we'll see what the score is. Can Tottenham get back to winning ways against Monaco? Villa didn't beat Monaco last season. Tough place to go, actually. So be a good result if you can get something out there. So Villa back to their best. We had, talking to Shaz, we had a great win on Sunday, and thank you all for joining me on the watch along. We'll be doing another one tomorrow night, Thursday night for the Go Ahead Eagles game, and Sunday for the Man City game. We get some great comments on the watch along, and yeah, it was a great win. Obviously, great result, and I think reflecting on it, we did our match reaction with the lads on Sunday night, and we were obviously all buzzing off the victory. But when you think back, you know, it was a good away performance. We controlled large parts of the game after sort of the first 10 to 15 minutes. And I think I was more disappointed with the way that Spurs played. You know, Villa played it as an away team should, really. Controlled the game, got a foothold in the game, and then started to take control of it and took their chances. Tottenham scored a goal, sat back, didn't do anything to try and take the game from Villa, and then spent most of the time wiping the ball with a white towel and throwing long balls into the box. So that seemed to be strange in the way that they approached it. So is that a real barometer for now for how far Villa have come this season, or was it Tottenham on a really poor afternoon for them? And was it a case of Villa really just taking the chances in terms of two goals that were, in terms of the XG or whatever you want to talk about it, were really low in terms of the chance of scoring? Brilliant goals they were. Brilliant goal from Morgan Rogers, which is a bit overshadowed by the fact of Buendia's goal, which was absolutely incredible. But we only had two real shots on goal in terms of on target. I know Cash had a shot that just went wide. I know there was a couple of efforts that were put into the box and the keeper parried, but it wasn't really a great game for chances. So we've had 5 wins in a row in all competitions. We've got the opportunity to beat Go Ahead Eagles tomorrow. Are we saying now Villa are really back to their best? Or is there still a little bit more to come? Was that really a barometer for, you know, saying that Villa are right back in it now? gone up to 10th in the league, 3 wins in a row in the league, Fulham, Burnley, Tottenham away. Or is it really going to be a big test? Man City, Liverpool, Bournemouth. Would you be able to really take it from there? Yes, sorry, TK as well. Yeah, Marlon did have a chance as well. And that was a lovely move. That was a lovely move as well. So is there still a bit more to come? Are we really happy with the way that the situation's looking, or is there a bit more? You know, Kamara had a really good game. I think Konsa and Torres are really setting themselves up to be a really good partnership at the back. Cash as well at right back, probably being one who's been much maligned, you know, from all quarters of the fan base, to be fair, but up there with one of our most consistent performers of the season. Luca Dean or Ian Matson can produce at different times. It's probably that position next to Kamara that's the one that we're looking at, someone to really take a hold of. Is it going to be Bogard? Is it Onana? Is Tielemans going to just take that as soon as he comes back to fitness? And then you're looking at that 3 in front. Buendia has been the most consistent and has been the spark for us in so many games. And he has been very important to us. And I obviously did my message where I was like, I'm admitting that I'm wrong with him at the minute because he's just been so good. And you look at what we've needed him off the bench against Palace in the game that we lost. He was the inspiration. He was the only one who was looking to try and do things. Fulham, he was the inspiration for us winning that game. Tottenham, he was the inspiration for us winning that game. So there's still probably more to come from those positions just behind the striker. And then you're looking at the striking position. Marlon was excellent against Burnley, but was isolated really against Tottenham. Ollie Watkins came on and changed the game along with Emi Buendia. So you're probably looking at maybe 3 to 4 positions that I think really need convincing. And then the goalkeeping position is probably still a little bit more to come from Emi Martinez. There's probably a bit more convincing that he needs to do with the squad, convincing that he needs to do with the fan base. But we know we've got Bizart, who's a much better deputy than we've ever had in a long time. So if I was to put a percentage on it, I'd probably say approaching sort of 70% at the minute. And as Deontay says there, 1 game at a time. Don't want to look too far in the future, but it is promising. It's certainly in a much better position than we were before the Fulham game, because that was a worrying period for Villa, because you only have to look at other teams that might have been in a similar position to the points total that Villa were at before that Fulham game. You know, you look at Nottingham Forest, had they then won 3 games in a row, they would be sitting still with Ange Postecoglou as manager and probably sitting in the top 10. West Ham, if they'd have got 3 wins in a row, they'd have been sitting in a similar position to Villa. Potter probably still the manager, or if Nuno had just taken over, everything will be looking rosy. At the minute, they're saying they're getting relegated. So it just shows you how quickly things can change in football. And I do feel like when I said the Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool games were a real acid test, I still think we need at least another win from those 2 games to say that we are in and around where we should be. If we win both of those games, I would probably say that we are back to our best, because 9 points from the first 7 games, you then flip it and now you're saying 12 points from 8 games. That's a bit more like it. We can get the win on Sunday, 15 points from 9 games. Now you're talking that we're nearly there. We're nearly there. So yeah, I think Tottenham were disappointing. I don't think it's a full barometer for where we are, if we can say that we're back to our best, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's definitely a step in terms of consistency, and in terms of players, I would probably say we've got 6 or 7 that are really performing well out of the squad that's regularly playing, and you've probably got 4 or 5 that need a bit more convincing. You know, Watkins, Marlon a little bit more, Gesson definitely, Rodgers is getting there, but still not. I mean, take Morgan Rogers as an example. Right? He scored a fantastic goal. But no one can tell me that they weren't getting frustrated with him before he smashed it in from 25 yards. You know, and on the watch along, people saying he needs to come off. We need to bring Elliott on at half time. And even then in the second half, there were still times where he was a bit sluggish on the ball, giving the ball away, you know, trying certain things that were probably the wrong choice at that time. But he does have that ability in him to do something like that. So he scored a brilliant goal. But we can't say that his performance was anything like what we've seen him do last season. That performance he did last season against Manchester City, for example, at Villa Park, that was incredible performance. You know, the power, the ability to beat players, the goals, the creativity. That's where we know Morgan Rogers can be. At the moment, he's got himself off the mark, which is brilliant. But we still need to see a little bit more in terms of that decision making and that link-up play, because that's what's devastating about him. So there's a lot more to come from him. Harvey Elliott, Jadon Sancho, we haven't even mentioned them. There's a bit more to come from them as well. So I think we're in a good spot. The squad-wise, I mean, I'm happy with it. Obviously, we'd love to see Tielemans back. I think Mings has travelled with the squad for the young boys game, the go-ahead Eagles game. So that's good. So there's players getting back to fitness. I haven't seen anything really of Garcia, which I don't know what's the situation with him. But the squad's looking good, and that's what you want, competition for places. And I don't think we need to concern ourselves too much with players that aren't playing at the minute. You know, we can't get ourselves bogged down as a supporter base with, oh, why isn't Harvey Elliott playing? Or why isn't Jadon Sancho playing? Or why isn't this player playing or that player playing? It's up to them to force their way into the team. We've already seen it with players who have been on the back burner, almost out of the club. Unai Emery's told them they can look for new clubs, and they've forced their way back into the team. You know, not just Emi Buendia that's happened to. Luca Dini, they were looking to move on. They were looking at accepting potential offers for him. You know, John McGinn, he wanted to keep, but there was bids coming in for John McGinn. As a supporter base, every time we've looked to bring in a new midfielder, or we've brought a new midfielder in, we say, oh, now it's time for John McGinn to be out of the team. So it's on those players to force their way into the manager's reckoning. It's on those players to force their way into the team, because there's something that Buendia is bringing to the side. There's a reason why he plays Morgan Rogers. There's a reason why he's seen something in Evan Gesson. Maybe it's the defensive work that he's doing at the moment. Maybe it's the way that he links up with Cash and he wants that to really work. Yeah, there's a reason why Bogart's getting in and playing regularly. Yes, he didn't play on Sunday, but previous to that. So it's up to these other players to force their way into the side. We can't get bogged down as a supporter base to say, oh, so-and-so should be playing, or he should be playing, or why isn't he getting a game? That's up to them. But yeah, I'm in a good position with the team. Don't think we're back to our best. I mean, if you guys in the comments, I'll read through some in a minute, but if you guys in the comments, out of 10, where would you rate us at the minute with regards to 10 being right at our best, 1 being obviously absolutely terrible? Where would you put us? I'll go through some of the comments as well. Let's have a look here. So, Patty, in my opinion, we've more to produce. I don't know that Tottenham were up to their standards. This upcoming game could be a better view of how well we're doing. Yes. Kerry, I know it's a stretch, but Tottenham lost the way we did to the first leg of PSG. 2 strikes that are big-time scores versus wonderful play for Watkins to potentially tap in. And I know you're not a fan of Watkins, mate. I know you're not. Are City playing well? I haven't watched them at all. They are playing pretty well. To be honest, it's Haaland who is absolutely flying at the moment, and he is scarily good at the minute. And it's not just with Haaland, it's not just he's having like 4 or 5 touches a game and 3 of them are goals. It's like he's getting involved in the play, and he's pretty incredible at the moment. And Foden seems to be getting back to his best. They've obviously got Doku who's flying on the wings. John Stones is getting back to some form of fitness. So that they are going to be a big test. And as Kevin said, even though I'm waiting for the Doom Merchants to reappear if we lose to City and Liverpool, even the most experts would say they are better than us. Well, that's the thing. As I say, if we can win those two, if we win and a draw from those two games, I think we can safely say we're well back to our best. A win and a defeat, I'd certainly take that. I'd take the 6 points from the 3 games. If we lose both of them, then you've got to say it's not concerning, but I'll be a little bit disappointed, definitely. Stephen said it was a great goal by Morgan Rogers, but he attempted a crap pass and luckily got the ball back, and then he did whatever he did from there. We need to have a decent amount of possession versus City and not give up the ball. We should turn them over, says Adamski. Yeah, TK, morale and confidence are returning, which is huge, and that's very important. 2 great goals, and we're questioning what ifs. No, I'm just surmising. I'm just talking about how if you analyze the game afterwards, okay, brilliant that we scored 2 goals, brilliant that we won the game 2-1. But when I've seen like pundits and that talking, and you think about it, and you know, yes, it was a great win, but was it a really good? It was a good away performance, but you know, what are there elements that could have been improved? Yes, can we turn around and say we are back to our best? I'd still say we've got some way to go. Adamski 7, yeah. TK 7, Patty 7, KFTF Walker, yes, 7 out of 10. I think if we beat Eagles 7-0, fans would moan. Yeah. Still concerned over a cover for a striker. Marlon isn't a number 9. I mean, this is something that we can maybe touch on. Evan Gesson, is he not a number 9? I know Sam seems to think that he should be playing number 9, but is Evan Gesson a number 9? We haven't. I think we saw him for about 10 minutes playing that centre forward position, and we know that Marlon seems to play better off the striker. You know, we saw that against Burnley, playing off that striker. So that's for me. I think we could look at Gesson playing in that position. But yeah, no worries, Kev. No worries, mate. I get you. TK, Spurs didn't play badly, and to come from behind and win is huge. Oh yeah, the character, and to come from behind in any game and win is massive, absolutely massive. And you said yourself, TK, the morale and the confidence that brings is huge. Is absolutely huge. So I'm with you guys. 7 out of 10, I would say at the moment. If we can win those 2 games, if we got it, you know, that would be approaching 9, 10 out of 10, definitely. And we will be absolutely flying going into the international break. Not forget, we've got a small matter of Bournemouth at home before the international break. So, you know, I think I said 7 points from the 4 games. So we've got 3 ticked off already. We get another couple of wins. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. Really, really, really good. Really good. And 5 wins in a row. Yeah, you can't argue with that. Guys, we've got nearly 100 in the chat. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're going to move on to our next little subject. Talking of the players and the squad that we have, and we're saying we're kind of at 7 out of 10 right now. There's talk of players signing new deals. We've had Cash, who looks like he's in agreement to a new contract. Morgan Rogers, looking like he's in the early stages of discussing a new contract. And John McGinn as well, looking to renew or sign an extension on his contract. Now, there might be 1 or 2 others that are looking to do that as well. You know, if Buendia, maybe he keeps performing. The strange thing is with him, he could end up signing a new deal. There's probably 1 or 2 others that they might be looking to get on longer-term deals. Ezri Konza, for example. I'm not sure when he last signed a contract extension. Pau Torres, potentially as well, to try and tie him up. Now, with the 3 that are definitely in talks, Morgan Rogers is probably a slightly different case. You know, I would imagine that the early talks were around the potential interest that he's going to get from other clubs, how Villa can protect that asset, with regards to a release clause, a sell-on clause as well, other things like that. And then also how they can reward him for, you know, being pretty much the main player in Aston Villa's first team right now, and how that kind of compares with the other players in the rest of the squad. So I think that is really important because we have to face a slight reality. We obviously want to finish in Champions League positions or win the Europa League, which puts us in a massively better bargaining position next season to keep these players. But also, if there is a situation where we don't do that, we want to make sure that we've got an asset, a prized asset that we're going to make a hell of a lot of money off if it comes to the fact that we need to sell him. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a four-year deal, 5-year deal with a huge pay rise for him, probably somewhere like doubling his money, and then a big buyout clause. So you're talking 100 million plus, I would imagine, because he really is. If you think about it, he's probably our prized asset. You've maybe got Kamara. You've maybe got Kamara as well. I don't know who else would be. I mean, Lamar Bogart's, if he plays regular football this season, he's going to be another one that could potentially go for fairly big money in comparison to anything like what we paid for him. So that leads me to my next point with the likes of Cash and McGinn signing new deals. He had Watkins potentially signing new deal as well. Looking at that. The problem with that is, or the challenge with that is, they're brilliant servants to the club. And McGinn, absolute hero for the club. Matty Cash played really well start of this season, but we know he's quite erratic. If we put them on new deals, that's it. That's it. There's no sell-on value with those players. That's pretty much it for them. Same with Watkins as well. They'll end their careers at Aston Villa. So we've got to balance that up with rewarding them for what they've done, looking at them staying for Villa for the long term, but also reckoning with the fact that we're not going to get any money for them in the future. So I understand that we want to have sentimentality with players and we want to keep them, but football's a fast-moving object. Football, the game doesn't stand still for anyone. And as fans and as a business, we have to make as much as we can to then be able to reinvest. And some of the problems that Villa have had in the past is that we haven't had real players of huge value in a number of years before kind of the last 2 or 3 years. I know we sold Grealish for 100 million, but we didn't really sell anyone for any money before that. And yes, I know we've sold Moussa Diaby now. I know we've sold John Duran. We made really good money on Jacob Ramsey. And by the way, yes, he had a good game last night for Newcastle. But, you know, has anyone massively missed Jacob Ramsey right now? And you look at the money that we've made in terms of PSR. So those are the things that we have to look at. And I think it's really good that they are going to commit their future to Villa. But I just think from a business perspective, Villa just have to watch out with making sure that you are getting the right players on the right contracts at the right time, but also looking to move players on at a time when their value is something that can be handled and brought into the club to be able to reinvest, because the pockets aren't deep. The pockets are deep for the owners, but they're not endless. And the rules state that they can't be endless. So if we're looking at players that are worth something for us to sell right now, you have to look at Rodgers, who's going to sign a big contract. You've got to look at Bogard, who's getting minutes now in the Premier League. He's going to be worth something. Who else? Konsa, but has absolutely no way we can. There's no way we can lose him. Kamara, maybe. So it's gonna. You've got to look at balancing that up. How, you know, younger players in and around the first team. It's a difficult one. So that's just a quick point on the contract situation. I think it's great news that Rodgers is talking about a new contract, because at least it will keep those vultures away, certainly in January. You know, the Chelseas and the Arsenals and the like. It will certainly keep them away. But the other players signing contracts, McGinn, Cash, etc., that's where I'm thinking, well, that's it for them. They're Villa. That's it. There's nothing. There's no sell-on value for them at all. They're ending with their time at Villa. But I certainly think we need to get Konsa on some form of contract as well, because if he has a great World Cup, he's going to be worth a hell of a lot of money. Hell of a lot of money. Yes, Michelle, great to have you in the chat. Kay says, Konsa, if he had a good World Cup, could bring in some big cash for a centre-back. There you go. Rod, what's up, Villa fam? Exciting times. Absolutely. Good evening to you as well, James. Gary, have we got money in January? Well, that brings slightly to my next question as well, because Nick, who very kindly does our music as well, asked the question on, with the transfer window opening up in a couple of months' time, to your point, Gary, can you see the club looking to explore another Rashford or Asensio quality loan or two to boost our chances of securing Champions League through either the league or winning the Europa? I'll let you guys get in the chat about that. Can you see us signing any players, whether that be on loan or on permanent deals, in the January transfer window to bolster our chances of Champions League football? Now, if you'd have asked me that 4 weeks ago, I'd have said there's no way we're getting Champions League football through the league. But it, as is always the case, I am slightly au fait to a knee-jerk reaction, passionate and all that. So now you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, you analyse the league, you think Tottenham have been lauded as top 4 challengers. They're not particularly consistent. Chelsea, again, getting some decent results, but again, they're beatable. Newcastle not had a great start in the league, having similar situation potentially that we did last season. When you go back to Champions League football, you go back to Premier League football after those Champions League games, is it easy to get yourself back in the groove? So you've got teams like that. You've got the likes of Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Brentford, even Everton, that can beat some of the big teams. So are we able to qualify for the Champions League? Because it potentially will go to 5th position as well. Absolutely. So it depends on whether, with a PSR situation, it depends on the squad cost rule situation. We've got Sancho. Just Sancho on loan that we have. Did we sign Lindelof? I believe we signed Lindelof. That wasn't a loan. So we could potentially get another loan signing in. But in terms of signing a permanent deal, I don't know. That'll be something for Alabi, obviously, to sort out. And he will obviously be looking and knowing what's the situation with regard to what he can do and what freedom he's got. But whether that means we have to sell someone to bring someone in would be open to question. But I could potentially see it. We know the players that Unai Emery wanted. We know the players that he's looked at. And there was talk of Endrick on loan from Real Madrid today. I saw Endrick coming, a potential shout on loan from Real Madrid. Now that would be incredible if that happened. I don't see it happening at all, by the way. But if we are looking to do some sort of marquee signing of the likes of Asensio or Rashford, then I could see it. I could see it, because there's definitely something that Unai Emery can bring to players and can get from players, and there's an attraction there with players coming to Aston Villa to work with Unai Emery. So I can certainly see it. Whether I would, I want to see what happened with Jadon Sancho, because we can look at the past experience of Marcus Rashford and say, okay, Unai Emery has got that ability to rehabilitate players and get them back on song and get them enjoying their football again and all that kind of stuff. But we haven't seen with Sancho enough in the tank to say that that's going to happen. So just while we've only really got one case with Marcus Rashford to look back on, Asensio was already, wasn't a potential issue, shall we say, in quotes. So with Sancho, I want to see more of that. He could be that jewel in the crown. He could be that player that we've wanted. but we just haven't seen enough of it right now. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. But if we're in a good position in the league, you know, fine well, Unai Emery's going to want to go for it. Absolutely, he's going to want to go for it. So yeah, very, very interesting. Michael's saying Duran on loan. And Kevin said, imagine that, Michael. Welcome back, Duran. Yeah, exactly. People saying send Sancho back. We've got to give him a chance. We definitely have. I agree with you, James. And we're going to win the title after we got shafted by FFP and squad cost rules, etc., says Adamski. And the league is wide open, says Kev. You don't get a chance on 200k a week. Needs to hit the ground running. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the part of it as well. We want to see him. We want to see him moving forward, and we want to see him hitting the ground running because he is. We have paid a lot of money for him, and sometimes that can be a hindrance for the rest of the squad because they're looking at someone on a ridiculous amount of money per week in terms of their situation. You know, if Morgan Rogers is on reportedly 70 to 75 grand a week and he's the number one player that Villa look to, and Jadon Sancho's coming in on 160 grand a week, even if he's his mate, he's going to be asking the finance team at Aston Villa to say, get me what he's on. I deserve what he's on. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Duran at Fenerbahce. Some people not liking Endrick. I've not really seen too much of him, to be fair. And Dyer, yeah, there's lots of clubs looking at him, Michael. I would be really interested in him. If we get Champions League football for next season, I'll be really interested in him. Who are you dropping to get Sancho in the first 11? Well, I don't know if it's a case of dropping players because it's the same as, as Elliott, really. But could Sancho operate from the right instead of Gesson? Would he do that defensive job? Could you shuffle players across and play maybe Rogers off the right, Sancho off the left, Buendia or McGinn through the middle? Would that be something that you could do? It would be a case of probably just horses for courses, really. But look, this is the situation we've got with the squad. This is the situation that we've got with the squad. Yeah. So, talking of squad, make sure we hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Over 100 in the chat and just hearing me rambling on, which is really interesting. So thank you guys for your support, and it's great having you guys in the chat as well, commenting and giving me the support. So please do like, subscribe, and all that jazz. We've got Go Ahead Eagles on Thursday night in the third game of the Europa League. Interesting. We're going back to the Netherlands, and it's another game that, it's a game that Villa should be really looking to win, should be looking to get some real confidence from, cementing that form that they're in, getting 6 wins in a row. But is it a time for maybe some squad rotation? Is it a time to give some players an opportunity to play, much the likes of Elliott and Sancho, who we've talked about, Bogard, who didn't play against Tottenham? Or is it a case of, look, the players are playing well as it is. We want to keep that rhythm going. We want to keep that momentum going. And if you change too much, if you bring too many players in, does that upset it a little bit? Does that upset the rhythm a little bit, particularly if players don't get a good result? Or then if you're 1 or 2-0 down with half an hour to go and you all of a sudden have to bring the cavalry on, is that ideal? Is that an ideal situation for Unai Emery? So yeah, it's an interesting one. Let's just taking a look at Go Ahead Eagles. They are 12th, I believe, in the Eredivisie. 2 wins, 4 draws, and 3 defeats. They haven't won in the league in their last 3 games, and they've scored 15 goals and let in 16 goals. So quite an entertaining side. And I think their coach was saying that the home atmosphere, they demand the players work extremely hard, press extremely well, but that would lend itself to leaving opportunities at the back for player for teams to exploit. Their striker Smith has 4 goals in the league. And I also have Broom, who's got 2 assists and 1 goal. They've got goals from across the team. Their centre back scored 2 goals already this season. I think in the Europa League they've won 1 and lost 1, so they haven't had too bad a start in terms of the Europa League. So it's one of those games where we haven't always performed too well away from home in any European competition. If we go back to the Conference League, there was away games where we really struggle. So it's not going to be as easy as I think as people say. And Gary said we've got to score first. Absolutely. The longer the game goes on, the more you could see Villa maybe trying to act calm, trying to act controlled. And then what happens? You get done on the break. We obviously had the situation last season with Club Brugge, which was Tyrone Mings' first game back and first Champions League game back, and he picked the ball up and made that mistake. So we don't want anything like that happening. We've got to be really professional. But let's make sure, I think, that we get the result, and we should get the result. Let's face it, we absolutely should. In terms of changes, I've got Martin's predicted lineup to bring onto the screen, and who he went for. I will bring that up very shortly. And I think there's probably going to be some changes. There has to be some changes. I'd like to see Elliott play. I don't know whether he will, though. That's the point. I'd like to see Bogard back in, give him some minutes. I don't know whether someone like Lindelof will play as well. Whether he'd change the centre back partnership. Mings has travelled with the squad, so does Mings come in, and is it like Mings and Lindelof? Does that become like the sort of the reserve sort of centre back partnership? So Martin's gone for Bizot in goal, Maatsen, Torres and Konsa. So he's gone with the first choice centre-back partnership. Maybe with the case that they need to play together as much as possible, because you want to keep that consistency. Cash at right back, there's probably not much else he could do. He could potentially put Bogard at right back. He could potentially put Konsa at right back. He could potentially put Lindelof at right back. I don't think he would, though. Then he's gone for Kamara and Bogard as that midfield 2 with McGinn. Obviously, it's just the way that the formation thing works. But you got McGinn, Buendia, Rodgers, and Watkins up top. I do think Rodgers will play. I think he likes to keep him in the side. But for me, I can see him giving an opportunity to Elliott. I really do see him giving an opportunity to Elliott. Bizot in goal, I think, would be great. And potentially Mings at the back. Michael's gone for Mings back up to Maatsen, maybe if we're ahead, or to protect a lead. The conference and Champions League experience will help this season to not underestimate any teams. Yeah, James, I do think we look a bit more of a. It's funny how much playing in Europe and how that experience of European football really helps teams. Like if you think back to that Conference League season where it was games where we were snatching at it, trying to rush, trying to just almost desperation to score goals. And, you almost saw them learning on the job in that competition. Then we had the absolute highs of the Champions League. And maybe if we hadn't have had the experience of the Conference League, staying in the game against the likes of Bayern Munich or RB Leipzig away from home, we wouldn't have had those results. And then to run PSG as close as we did, and you look at Villa in this Europa League context, only a small sample size, the 2 games that we've had, but very controlled performance at Feyenoord. And Bologna we weren't in the best of form, and we managed to eke that win out. Tomorrow, we might see a more free-flowing Aston Villa. We might see us get into a position where we're sort of 2-0 up and in control, and then we'll start sort of just conserving that energy. Or, a bit like that Bologna performance from last season, where that was a really good European performance. But it has been really good to see us gain that experience of of European football, because now you can look at the players like John McGinn, Ezri Konsa, one or two others that when we first went into European competition had none of that experience, and now they can count 15, 20 games in Europe as their experience. So it does make a massive difference. So yeah, I think that's huge for Villa, and that's going to be really good. Would be nice to see a couple of youngsters on the bench like Wilson. He scored a great goal yesterday, I believe, in the UEFA Youth League. They got a 1-1 draw to take back to Villa Park. I think they got a pretty hostile and pretty nasty atmosphere, to be honest. I think the Villa have reported some racist abuse, which is not good at all. So that could be some punishment to that club, well-deserved punishment to that club that they've played against. But yeah, it'd be great to see a Ben Broggio, Gimo Aloba, one or two others on the bench, Bradley Burrows maybe, who's just been called up to the England under 17 World Cup squad. So that's really good, yeah. But I do think there will be some youngsters on the bench, to be honest, but it'd be good to see them get on the pitch. That's what Charlie, Academy AVFC, was saying. There's been games where we've potentially had the opportunity to go 2-3, 4-0 up even, and then you've got an opportunity to bring a youngster on for the last 10 or 15 minutes, and we haven't done that yet. We haven't been clinical enough. So can we get into a position where we're 3 or 4-0 up tomorrow, and then you can bring some of these young lads on, and what an experience it would be for them to play and even create chances, score goals in the Europa League. So that would be really, really interesting to see. So yeah, I'll bring Martin's team back up. So in the chat, let me know, because I think a few of you said that was a really good lineup, and I can make a case for that. I can definitely make a case for that. But do you think he'll play Sancho? Do you think he'll play Elliott? Can you see Lindelof coming in or Mings coming in? That, I think those are probably the four that I would say would potentially be options for him to bring in. So I'll let you think about that. Yes, World Football Chat, definitely. Unai had the wealth of experience before he came to us, absolutely, and he's up there with the best European managers. And this is his tournament, isn't it? The Europa League is Unai's tournament, and that's what we had as our ace card, was Unai's experience, because he would always talk about how you have to control games, how in Europe it goes ebbs and flows. There's always a time when the other team will have opportunities. There's always a time when you're going to have to face the pressure. And there's always a time in a game where you're going to be on top. And if you can, in the two-legged ties, when it gets to the knockout stages, you're talking about 180 minutes of football that at any period in that time, if you just have to try and stay in the game, because you are going to have minutes and moments where you're going to be on top. You look at that Bruges last 16 tie, they played so much better than us at their ground. We came away with a 3-1 win because he made the key substitutions at the right time, and Aston Villa took their chances when they came, and Bruges didn't. It could have been such a different outcome, and then that would have led to much more different second leg. And that's why European football is so important, and that's why Unai Emery, as you say, World Football Chat, is the key to it. Is the key to it. Kevin says Maatsen and Bogard definitely starting. Matt says we've got to remember who we've got next in the league. I say rest a few. And Adamski says Marlon in Rodgers' position. I just don't see him resting Morgan Rodgers. That's the thing. I mean, I kind of hope he does. Just because I think then he'll be fresh and firing for Sunday, in my opinion. But I don't know if he does. Michael says start with a slightly changed team and take it from there. That's the thing. You don't want to make wholesale changes, because you then end up having to recorrect yourself if things are going wrong. But I think giving some players some valuable minutes would help them. So get your score predictions in. I'll give my score predictions soon. I want your score predictions before we round off the show. And I think that's enough of me rambling on. Nearly 150 in the chat, which is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for your support. We're on the march to 10,000 subscribers, so help us get there. If you haven't subscribed already, please do hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. Get your predictions in for Thursday night's game against Go Ahead Eagles. I'll be doing my watch along as well tomorrow night. We're starting at, I think I've said 20 to 6, just so I can give myself time to get back in from work and all that jazz. 20 to 6, proper commentary, bit of analysis, obviously celebrations when Villa score. We've been getting some great comments on the watch along so far as well. So please do join us for a good time watching the game. And I think I'm on 100% record since I've been doing these watch alongs. So maybe it's something to do with me doing these that's been giving Villa the good luck. So who have we got in the chat? Clean sheet, says James. Well, that'd be good. B's up. If he's in goal, he's been good at keeping clean sheets, definitely. Stephen says, give Rodgers 1 half, see if he can get another goal, get him firing for City, and he's a 4 or 5-0 Villa. Michael, I'm hoping, expecting at least 3 goals and a clean sheet. There we go. Kevin says 2-0. Gary, I'll go ahead, go behind, then they go ahead, and we get 2 late goals, so a 3-2 win. Wow, that'll be a good game. Yeah, try not to cheer ahead of time. Yeah, no spoilers in the chat when we're doing the watch along. Absolutely. I'm going to go for Go Ahead Eagles 1, Aston Villa 3. And I think Watkins will open his account in Europa League football. Marlon, I think, will get a goal as well. And let's say John McGinn will continue his goal-scoring form in Europe. TK's gone for a 2-0 win. World Football Chat's gone for 4-1 Villa. So I think we're all very, very confident going into this game in ahead of a huge game against Manchester City on Sunday, which, as I say, go right back to the start of the show. If we can get that result against City, we will be absolutely cooking on gas on the season, and I will be absolutely buzzing. And you'll see a happy Richard instead of a ranting Richard after the start of the season. But yeah, I'm confident for tomorrow, and I think we're in a good spot as a team. And it's a hell of a lot difference, hell of a lot rosier than it was a month ago, which is credit to the players, credit to the manager, and credit to sort of everyone really with keeping behind the team as best as we could. And there's been players who've, like I said, have really, really shone who we've not really expected to. Emi Buendia being the biggest one, so long may that continue. Guys, I'll be back with Watch Along tomorrow, instant reaction tomorrow as well after the game. Lions Roar potentially, if we have time with the boys. They'll be back with me as well. Obviously, work, life, everything in the way. So just be tonight, but the boys will be back very, very soon as well. We'll have match preview for Man City, watch along for Man City as well. So stay with the channel. Thank you all for your comments in the chat. Thank you all for watching. Smash a like, hit subscribe, and we will see you very soon. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.